Okay, so continuing with the topic of method of undetermined coefficients, let's look at another example. So here we have a system of differential equations. So x prime is actually negative 1, 4, 1, negative 1, x plus f is e to the t and 1. So e to the t and 1. Now what you're going to do is first solve the homogeneous version. Now I'm not going to do that in this video, okay? So you have to do that long process again, finding eigenvalues and finding eigenvectors. So if you find the eigenvalues and eigenvectors of this matrix A, what you get is lambda 1 is 1, lambda 2 is negative 3. The corresponding eigenvectors are 2, 1, negative 2, 1. So the general solution, the complementary solution is C1 2, 1 e to the t, okay, C2 negative 2, 1 e to the negative 3t. Okay, so this is the complementary solution. Alright, so now what we do is we have to come up with a guess, right? Okay, so let's do that. So we look at our f. What type of functions you have in our f? Well, we have a to the t and we have constant terms. So e to the t, so our initial guess is for e to the t times ab plus for constant it's just ct. Okay, now check for overlaps. Okay, so do we have an overlap? So here let's look at the e to the t part. So do we have a e to the t part here? Yes, in the complementary solution we definitely have. So we have an overlap for this part of the guess. How about constants? Do we have just constant terms here? No, right? Every term in the complementary solution is combined with or multiplied by an exponential function. So they are really, these vectors are really exponential. The terms of these vectors contains exponential functions. But here this is just constant function. So you don't have just constant functions here in the complementary solution. So this part is does not have overlap, but this part have. Now here's the difference. Okay, here's the difference from chapter 4. Now when you have overlap, what did we do in chapter 4? We multiply the part that was affected or the offended part. That is the word that I use, right? So we multiplied the offended part by x, right? Because x was the independent variable in chapter 4. But here, what is the independent variable in this chapter? T. So we do the same, but with a one little difference. Okay, let me explain it. So let's first multiply by t. So you multiply by t because that's the independent variable, just the offended part. Okay, so you do not change this constant part. You do not multiply this by t. Now you might ask, well, that was pretty much same with chapter 4, but no. Plus, now you have to keep the old term in the particular solution when you are dealing with systems. Okay, so you just keep e to the t ap part still in your particular solution. Okay, so it's like you introduce a new term to the old guess, the initial guess. You take this part, you multiply it by t and add it to the same old initial guess. So that's the difference from chapter 4. Okay, so that's a slight difference. So you keep the old guess, or you're just keep on adding new terms. But then when you compare, you might ask, we still have an overlap, right? Because we still have this e to the t term overlap. But now we have t to the t here. So this term does not clearly have an overlap with this term because it's multiplied by t. But still we have that old term, right? So we still have an overlap, but that's gone. That is in the past. Okay, now we look at whether this new term have an overlap with this complementary solution. No, so this is the final guess. So every final guess when we have an overlap will always have an overlap because we are preserving that initial guess. Okay, so we are just it's like we are adding new terms to the initial guess. So when we have several overlaps, think this our particular solution trial form, the correct trial form will be very long, right? Okay, so this is the correct trial form. So let's look at another example and it will make more sense. Okay, so let me find the example. So example 4 here. Alright, so we have the system of differential equation. So let's write x prime is equal to 1, 5, -1 plus e to the 2t cosine 2t. Okay, so now what we do is, well, we take this equation, well, I forget to multiply by x and plus. Okay, we find the eigenvalues. Eigenvalues are complex in this case. Okay, so plus or minus 2y, and the eigenvector corresponding to that is -1 minus 2i plus 1. Now here we have to write the general solution. So the general solution for this will be given here. Okay, so let me copy the f is e to the 2t cosine 2t. So okay, let's work here. So f is e to the 2t cosine 2t. So this is the non-homogeneous part, right? Okay, now the general solution or the complementary solution is this. Now you know how to write it, right? When you have the eigenvector, when you have the eigenvalue, you extract b1 and b2, alpha and beta, and you write the general solution, right? So you have to do all that process. Okay, all right, so now speaking about the particular solution, what type of functions you have? E to the 2t and cosine 2t. Okay, so now what is our initial guess will be like? So for e to the 2t part, e to the 2t ab. For cosine 2t part, cosine 2t cd, but not also cosine, also sine 2t ef. The hardest thing is to find letters to define them all. Okay, right now this is our initial guess. Now do we have an overlap with the complementary solution? Well, we do, right? Well, we'll see. E to the 2t, do we have e to the 2t in the complementary solution? Luckily no. So there's no overlap with that exponential part. Cosine 2t, yes, we have cosine 2t. Sine 2t, we have sine 2t. So we have an overlap there, right? Here alpha was 0, in the eigenvalue alpha was 0, so it's e to the 0t. So that is why we do not have an exponential term here at all. Okay, so we have an overlap. Alright, so what do we do now? We multiply the part that is offended. That means here and here you multiply it by t. So let's write our new guess. E to the 2t ab, that's not offended, so it's like that. T times cosine 2t cd plus t times sine 2t ef. Now guess what? The difference is, we know this was offended, but we still keep that old offended part in our new guess also. So we have to have cosine 2t. Let's come up with letters gh plus sine 2t lk. Okay, so this is our guess, new guess. Okay, all right, so that is how you create a guess or a trial form for the particular solution in systems when you have overlap. Okay, all right, thank you.